I'm your host, Jade.
And I'm your host, Emma.
And this is
Lashing Out and Nailing Life. We were gone for a little bit, but we're jumping right back into it full swing.
Emma was sick, and then Jade was sick. And
we just had a rough month, you know?
March was busy.
But and that's April okay. Now. Yeah, and that's okay. And
ironically, we're focusing on burnout.
Yes.
Which maybe we both had hit, and that's why both of us got sick.
Probably.
So I wanted to start this by going into the definition of burnout because I wasn't quite sure what it was until Emma sent me this
We both wanted to confirm that we knew what the official definition of burnout is.
We always want to make sure we know what we're talking about when we're talking to you guys.
Yes. And we were talking about this before we started filming, and it's like, I feel like just like when we did our safety and health episode, and we were talking about how people love to just throw out the word allergy. Yep. I feel like people just love to throw out the word burnout. When, not that they're not necessarily experiencing burnout, but maybe we had our own definition of burnout and assumed for them sort of thing. So
the general thing is burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged, unmanaged, or chronic workplace stress. And that means it includes energy depletion and exhaustion, which is feeling physically and emotionally drained, often experiencing frequent illness. Another example is mental dissonance and cynicism. It's a hard word. Increased negativity, irritability, and detachment toward one's job or colleagues. And then the third thing is reduced performance. So feelings of hopelessness, lack of motivation, and decreased productivity. And I think I'd always thought of it as just the mental distance and cynicism. Like you hate your job, you don't want to go to work, you don't want to do it. And I've never felt that because I love what I do. So that's why I personally, when we were approaching this episode, that's why I thought I had never experienced burnout.
Yeah, and I wanted to say too, like, I think, burnout isn't always going to look the same for everyone either.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not just about like, hey, I want to quit my job and hey, I don't love what I do anymore. I think it kind of almost Venn diagrams with just feeling overwhelmed and stressed, but it's work related and not necessarily life related.
Yeah. So with that, we'll dive in, and I think I want to ask you, after going into that, what does burnout look like for you?
So I think mentally, I'll go through all the little. Mentally, I tend to feel like overwhelmed, like I'm working so much, but I'm having such little progress. And I feel like this episode is actually falling at such a great time for me because last month I had probably a solid week where I was like, I've made the wrong choice. I'm not making as much as I feel like other people are at my age. And I feel like I'm not doing as much as other people are at my age. And kind of like that imposter syndrome-y moment. But it was like a whole week where I was like, I'm not busy. I'm not booked. I'm not making enough. I'm not going to be able to like sustain the life that I eventually want to have. The economy is in a crazy state right now. I was like, people aren't going to want to, get their nails done anymore. So I think mentally it's just like that kind of overwhelming. I feel like I can tell when my body is being burnt out physically faster than I can tell when my brain is being burnt out, because you can like feel it versus the mental side. So physically I can tell that I need a break or just to like step back and reassess like things physically, because like my hands start to hurt or my neck starts to hurt or my shoulder starts to feel weird and things like that. So what does it look like for you?
I feel like mine's more, I say it's more on the mental side. My body forces itself into sickness, I swear, and I will stand by that. So my body forces myself to take a break, and I end up getting really sick, which I feel like is kind of what was happening, because with moving out and everything this year, I've definitely been pushing myself harder in my business. So that's probably why I got sick. I don't know. Mentally and emotionally is where I really notice it, and that's what I respond to better than the physical. I'm really bad at pushing through illness. I'll still work Whereas mentally and emotionally, I'm really good at listening to that, because I feel like ever since I went through depression at 15, I've been more in tune with my emotional state. So when I'm getting burnt out, like I said, I never hate my job. That's never where I go. It's more the lack of motivation, the hopelessness, the decreased productivity. Like, I only want to work when I'm at my studio. I don't want to do the monotonous behind the scenes. I don't want to worry about social media. I don't want to worry about my books, because when I'm looking at my books, I start panicking more. Or when I'm worrying about social media has just never truly clicked for me, I feel like. So that's always been an area of hopelessness. But it's definitely more like the mental and emotional just overwhelm that I sit into more than the physical. But like I said, my body likes to suddenly get very sick, and that might be that.
And I think that's something to note if you feel like you're someone who is working a lot, especially if you have a business where you're working 6 to 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And you also feel like you're getting sick frequently, which I feel like when we get sick, it also adds an extra layer of overwhelming and stress, because then you have to figure out where to move everyone. And you also don't just want to be like there isn't the, like, if my boyfriend's sick and he calls out, he doesn't have to think about who's covering his shift, what's happening, is somebody going to come in, come back, how does he have to reschedule if he had an appointment that he was supposed to meet with someone or anything like that. Versus we still kind of have to work even if we're sick. We don't really get to rest, which is why...
Yeah, because even if we're not, like, physically going in and doing your guys' appointments, we're sat on our phones all day trying to figure out where we're putting you.
Yeah, and luckily this last time I got sick, I only had to move one day, and I only had 3 people. But then the rest of that week, I was still kind of having that overwhelming feeling of but now I took a day off, and now I'm not going to make as much this week.
That's the worst part.
And 2 of the people who I had rescheduled ended up not being able to make their rescheduled appointment, which just made it worse, because then I was rescheduling again, and it was just,
Dominoes.
Why do you think that burnout is so common in our industry?
I think it's because of the mentality our industry has with the whole booked and busy. Because even when you're not booked and busy, you get burnt out trying to be booked and busy.
Right.
Like, so I think that really is the whole problem. And a lot of the courses, like we've discussed in the past, is marketed with, like, this is how to get booked and busy. And our industry, because beauty industry is a physical toll on our bodies, it's also a mental and emotional toll on us, because we listen to our clients talk about all their big problems, which I love doing, and I'm not complaining about it.
We talk about our problems too, you know?
Yeah, I love talking and listening to my clients, but sometimes you have a day where every single client has had something big happening, so, like, you're mentally and emotionally drained from that, as well as having that physical drain from... I try to not be hunched. I'm always hunched. Anyways.
You try and catch yourself, and then you revert into shrimp position.
Yeah. So I think burnout is so common in our industry because the mentality towards our industry is incorrect. I don't think the goal should be to ever be solidly booked and busy. It's to reach a point where you're priced correctly so that you don't have to be fully booked to be sustainable.
Yeah. I think because it is so hard on our bodies that it's important to keep in mind that this is a different kind of job.
Yeah.
Because it's very frequent to me where I have thought, like, well, if I had a different job, if I had an office job, and that's what I was doing, I would constantly be doing something, and I'd be getting paid if I wasn't doing something, versus us not really having that. And I do think that us being expected to always be on and always be ready, even if we're having a personally hard day, even if it's just like hard, like trying to determine when to take those breaks, even.
Yeah.
Like, we're always trying to be on and ready and booked, and everyone's trying to come in when they can. But then when we need to take a break, I always feel bad about it, because I'm like, well, now people aren't going to be able to come in when they want to. Now I'm going to have to redo my schedule. Now I have to work on a Saturday instead of a Sunday because I'm trying to fit everyone in, and I also, like, have to live. And yeah, I think that's probably part of it too, is it's also hard for us to take that time off.
Yeah, because that's the other thing with the beauty industry is we're pressured we have to be working around all the major holidays. So then we feel guilty taking time off around the holidays, but we're also humans and we chose to run our own business for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's having that balance.
Yes.
And just as a whole, our industry struggles with balance. So I think that's why burnout is such a big problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think especially with the holidays, because like we want to enjoy the holidays too, and we want to have time with our family. And I told myself like I was going to take more time off this year because I want to enjoy the things that I enjoy. So like July is a super busy month for me because I have 2 trips and one of them is just me going camping. And I was like, well, I don't have to do that, but I want to, because one of the reasons I like going on this specific camping trip is because I have no service. It forces me to take the break from social media, being able to work, being able to do whatever. And there's no excuse for me to be like, well, I was on my phone anyways, I'll just respond to this. Like, it forces me to take the break. Versus I know that my other trip, I'm probably still going to be working. Yeah. Like, I'm probably still going to be letting people book. I'm probably still going to be responding to messages and checking availabilities and all of that kind of stuff. So it is important to take that time off. And I feel like it is very common that we don't want to take that time off because we feel like so much is expected of us as a service provider. Yeah. And like, I have a little bit of that people pleaser in me where I don't want to.
I think everybody does in this industry. Like, that's part of being in this industry.
Yeah.
Do you think burnout is avoidable, or do you think it's a learning experience everyone has to go through?
I think it's a learning experience because I think it's about finding that balance of being able to work but not overwork.
That's the thing, is I don't feel it's avoidable because, as we discussed at the beginning, burnout is different for everybody. So you have to learn personally what causes you to reach that.
Yeah, and I think you just really have to, because like for some people, like I love working 410s.
Yeah.
/412s. Like that is what I personally love, but I know like you or other people like more of that 5 days a week, a little bit of a shorter day, or like more frequent shorter days but a couple longer days instead of like working all that long time, just because like everyone's body is different, everyone's personal schedules are different, and I would rather have 3 days off where I can really just like get a bunch of stuff done, because I'm not really the type of person who's gonna wake up earlier, or like getting off at 5 o'clock isn't going to make me run any errands.
Oh, yeah.
Versus if I just have my days off and I can do all my errands, you know.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, I definitely don't think it's avoidable. And I think probably the more you try to avoid it, the worse that it is.
Yeah. I think you have to, I think it's avoidable to experience it over and over again because you learn, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I think everybody has to experience it once to learn what you need. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think too, again, in this industry, like people assume that we need to work every day. Or I see people all the time who on their schedules it says that they work every day from 9 to 3, and they might not even be there 9 to 3, but that would stress me out. Like trying to be like, well, even though I don't work all day,
That's what I did at the beginning of my career, and I feel like a lot of us do at the beginning when we're starting our own businesses, is it's like, well, if I'm open every day, then I'll at least be taking one client every day. And that's just not the right mentality to have, because clients are gonna think you're working for them and you're open for whatever they need and whenever they need it. But you need to have that set schedule from the beginning to get the clients you want that are going to match the schedule you want. And that's really important. What changes have made the biggest difference for you?
Setting boundaries.
Yeah,
100%.
Like, for one, changing your having a set schedule.
Setting boundaries, 100%. And again, boundaries will look different for everyone, but setting your schedule and not working outside of your schedule if you genuinely don't want to. So, like, when I go on vacation or I take a day off and I make that day up, that's because I want to.
And you always communicate that to your clients.
And I do communicate to my clients. And I book out. So, like, people book out at least one appointment each month, like 2 months out.
Yeah.
So, by the time we get to that day and they're like, what do you have available? I don't even necessarily tell them, hey, oh, I don't have Wednesday available because I'm going out of town. I'm like, oh, I don't have Wednesday, but I have Tuesday instead. Or that sort of thing, because now a couple clients do know my schedule really well and they'll be like, oh, are you doing something? And I'll tell them. But for the most part, I don't even necessarily tell them, like, in June I'm going to the Renaissance Festival and we have a bridal shower on a Sunday. So that's 2 Sundays. So instead I'm working the Saturdays before.
Mm-hmm.
And when my clients asked, hey, are you working on blah, blah, blah Sunday? And I go, oh, I don't have anything that day, but I have Saturday. Then it also doesn't bleed into I overthink a lot, but bleed into the clients who are like, well, I like coming in on Sundays and now she's like doing a personal thing. It kind of is like, this is what I have. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think setting boundaries we've talked about this so much. Even just the knowing that you're going to have, okay, I'm not responding to text messages after this time, or I'm not offering every single service because I don't want to and it's overwhelming. Just anything like that. Do you feel like, you said that you haven't had as much, but do you have any changes that you've made that
my big thing from the beginning is like working my set hours now instead of just doing what people wanted. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is what I'm working, so this is your choice. Mm-hmm. I'm much better at that now. And then my other thing is just, and I guess it's not necessarily a wonderful thing that I do this, but it's helped me a lot, is if I don't want to do social media, I don't make myself do it anymore. I take the break, I step back, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I don't having a set schedule for social media stresses me out so much more than just doing it when I have the little moments of inspiration. And you can just scroll through my social media and see when things were posted to know, oh, she had a good 2 weeks here where she constantly had inspiration, and then she had a month where she couldn't think of anything. Yeah. And it's just, that's been so much nicer for me than to hold myself to the standard that almost our industry pushes, which is like, you post 2 to 3 posts on your main feed once a week, and you're supposed to post on your story every single day. And if I try to make myself do that, I hit burnout.
And I think it depends on like your personality and what you want to focus on, because for me, social media, like taking that hour a week to plan social media is just part of my routine now. And I don't post, like, I am scrolling on reels, and if I see something funny, I post that to my story versus like just posting nails all the time. And I've been trying, my challenge that I've been doing is like, I've been trying to show my face more. So I go in, little secret here. I go in, and if I have a big gap, I'll take like 6 outfits with me. And I may have mentioned this before. I'll take like 6 outfits with me. I'll change into all of them, and I'll do like the little opening B-roll footage. Yeah. And then I have enough opening footage for, I think the last time I did it was January when it was slower, and then I just did it a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I've had at least 4 months worth of just like that B footage to like throw in front of a compilation video or nails that I like to do and things like that.
Just this past week, I intentionally like asked all my clients, do you mind if I film some of this for content? So I actually do have tons of B-roll stuff now.
Yeah, I think the issue too is people think that they have to post every single day, or even just like, okay, I have to remember that I have to post today, when like utilize that scheduling stuff. You like, it has changed to where like today I'll go through and I will schedule out maybe just 3 videos because I have a lot going on today. But if I didn't have as much, then I will schedule out a month where I'm just posting like 3 videos a week. And so it ends up being 9 videos, which to me doesn't sound as much or as daunting as like 30. Yeah. But I've also posted them all at once, and I wouldn't even have to go on my social media if I didn't want to. So I think
you say that. But for the engagement, you do have to go on social media.
I would say it's, again, finding that balance of I can if I'm supposed to post on a Wednesday, but I'm super busy that Wednesday, whether it's working, I typically work on Wednesdays. So like if it's working, it's my late day, I don't get off until 8, I come home, I eat, I go to bed. Then I didn't have to go
That, yeah.
on that Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then Thursday morning, I can check it, I can repost it, I can heart my own thing, I can put a comment on it. Like I can kind of do that engagement a little delayed, and it's not as serious, but also just for like client consistency, even if I don't engage for it to be pushed, then my followers are still seeing it to an extent. So I feel like my biggest advice for someone feeling burnout is to, like you said, take a step back.
Yeah, and evaluate. It really takes that self-reflection. You have to look in the mirror. You have to figure out what is causing it. No one else, and I think that's like a huge thing in our industry, is they're like, what do you do when you hit burnout? Well, what I do and what Emma does is completely different between the two of us, let alone what you need to do. It's genuinely something you have to battle yourself and figure out yourself. And you could possibly take a poll from like 10 to 50 people and actually get this huge range, and maybe you'd be able to pinpoint, oh, okay, that would help me. But having one or two people you're talking to about it is not going to give you the perspective you need. You really have to be, not to be harsh, you have to be intelligent enough to look within and figure out within yourself what has gotten you to this point. And I think for the longest time, until even this year, because I've even talked about it on here, how I want to get better at social media, it's only really been this year where I've accepted, yeah, that's just not for me. Like, I just need to treat social media what is best for me and my mental health.
Yeah, and I think even the way, like the length that we step back from our burnout, and kind of, so like for me, when I'm starting to feel, when I have that week of every now and then I've made the wrong decision, whatever, imposter syndrome, I take just that day and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to post. I'm not going to worry about this. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to sit back and evaluate what's making me feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And what would make me feel more fulfilled, and how I can achieve those goals with like a specific timeline more, because that's how I process things. So,
and I like that. That's like flipping the view of seeing like half glass empty to half glass full.
Right. And it's like, if you need to take a week, if you're getting to the point where maybe you've even pushed through too many burnout moments, and now you need to take a week off to just staycation or go to the beach or take a flight or whatever.
Yeah.
And kind of envision what you want your life to look like. Because I think sometimes, again, we get so caught up in the social media of it all, I guess, that we're not actually thinking about like, hey, eventually I want to be able to take maternity leave.
We forget bigger picture, for sure. We get caught up in the now.
Or eventually, like, I want to buy a house. Well, here's my income now. What do I need to do to be able to achieve my goal in a sustainable way? Because that's something else too, is you don't want to do something that you're not going to be able to sustain
Like
for the long term.
Working every single day.
Working every single day.
Set that boundary sooner than later.
pricing yourself based off of,
if you are pricing yourself to be the most affordable, you're not going to have a sustainable income.
Or even the other way, because I feel like sometimes we'll see people who overprice as well. And while it might work for the moment, if anything were to go up significantly, like if I were to raise my prices significantly, which to me would be like, I don't know, at one time like $30, because that's like a lot at one time. I can't even remember what me and my client were talking about. We were talking about something where we were talking about something for her had gone up $30, and she was like, that's a trip to the gas station for me right now, and I can no longer afford that. So she was like, so I can't do that, because like that's so much at once. So you also don't want to just be like, well, I know my prices need to go up this much, I'm just going to do it all at once. Sometimes it does take a little bit of that time to kind of build into that. Like if your goal is to charge, I don't know, I always think of unreasonable numbers when I think about stuff like this. $1,000, whatever, for a service, but you're currently at $500 for your service, then raising it $500 is going to do more damage than if you were like, okay, every year I'm just going to do $100 or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is also a lot to raise at one time, but simple math. Do you feel like burnout creeps up slowly for you, or does it hit all at once?
I think what's funny is for almost everyone, the answer is going to be like, it hits all at once. But I don't think that's true. I think a lot of us are just unaware as it creeps up, because I think there's no way that it just suddenly comes out of nowhere. I think that's just how it feels, because the reason it's come is because you didn't notice it was creeping up.
Yeah, I guess that's true, is maybe not noticing that it's creeping up. I feel like that's probably, again, my mental versus physical. Is the physical, I can physically feel like, okay, things are starting to happen and my body's starting to, even with getting sick, like you can kind of start feeling that you're getting sick.
Yeah.
And things are starting to happen. Versus mentally, for me, I think I am the type of person who's kind of like, well, that wasn't a big deal and everything's fine. And then it's like, well, that wasn't a big deal and everything's fine. And then it's like, okay, all of these things that weren't a big deal are now making this a big deal.
Big deal, yeah, because it's piled up. Yeah, so I think while it does feel like it hits all at once, I just know that's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you noticed if burnout shows up more during certain seasons or phases of your life?
It used to when I wasn't good at setting boundaries, but now I've gotten good at setting boundaries. But my biggest issue is, and I've talked about this before, my brother lives out of country. So when he's back, I used to, I guess it's burnout in a way. I used to feel really guilty working while he was here, but I would force myself to do it because while I'm still here, I'm still at home. Why should I be taking the time off and making it an inconvenience to my clients when it's like, well, no, I've known months in advance that my brother is coming. It's super easy for me to be like, hey, I am taking these 2 weeks off while my brother's in town. He's super important to me. You're going to come either before or after. Mm-hmm. And now I'm really intentional with that. But I do think, and my brother's lived out of country now for, oh my gosh, 5 years we're coming up on.
That's crazy.
And I think it was only really this past year, maybe 2 years, that I have really gotten comfortable with just communicating with my clients that is super important to me and family does come first. And for anybody who has relatives that live out of country, they know how hard it is and how few visits you get with them. It is important to spend that whole time with them. But
and again, I think it's all about what you feel is good for you, because I'm not necessarily the opposite, but when I have family visit, I almost need that break sometimes. So I will schedule, like when my dad's family came and visited, they were here for 2 weeks, and I think I ended up working like 2 days each week just because I knew like I'm going to need to get out of the house and I'm going to need to like not just be around them for 2 solid weeks. I'm going to want a break and kind of a more like, for me, a routine thing. Like I want to go back into my routine and I love what I do. And so sometimes it's just like, I just want to create today and I want to be able to do that. But if that's not how you want to do it, then that's also okay. And you just have to figure it out.
Advice is self-reflection.
Right. Self-reflection. But it is, I feel like something that is the reason that this podcast is so important is because we have such different lives and such different, even just different perspectives. Yeah, just different perspectives. And so I feel like I do have certain phases in my life where I maybe notice it more. I feel like the slow season specifically, almost because my body has a second to like just kind of sit back. And because it's slower, it's almost like a delusion where I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that I survived the busy season if I'm this slow. And like, I feel like that's my biggest thing is I always feel like I'm not doing enough even though I'm working so much.
Yeah.
And I always feel like I'm overworking myself for very little because even though the slower season, I'm still busy and I'm not able to take as many people, it just feels like less, even though I'm still working just as hard. Yeah. So I feel like I notice it the most then, and I notice it the most leading into another big event because then I'm taking all of this time off, but I'm trying to figure out how to like make up for it when I shouldn't necessarily be Like if the July month that was happening this month was happening last year, I would be working every single day that I was not off.
Yeah.
So like I'm going to have a couple of times where there is a Saturday or a Tuesday I should have worked, but I know I'm going to need that day just to recover.
Yeah.
So not working on every single day or even leading into it. Like I know that if my schedule is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and if I try to do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 2 weeks before my trip, I'm going to feel way worse than if I just add it later or add it in a different way to where I'm still having that time to like recover.
So when you look back at times that you've been burnt out, what do you feel like you do differently now? Like, what are the big things? Like, my big things, for example, my big things that I do now, like I said, I intentionally take time off during the holidays and when family is in town. I now have stepped back from social media. And my other thing that I've done that I haven't talked about yet is I try to intentionally plan creative sets because that makes me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's another way I burn out is monotonously doing the same thing, especially because we're in a creative field. So I'll try to mix in creative
And I feel
sets.
like it's probably almost harder for you because you are doing like a black wispy set, a black wispy set, a black angel set, a black versus like even if somebody comes in with me and we do a solid color, it's like
it's
a different color.
Yeah. That's fair.
You know? Versus if I was doing like Frenchies all day, oof. Or even if people were just coming in, that's why I could never understand. There are certain nail techs that only do like nude builder gel because that's just what they like and it's very clean girl aesthetic and okay. But if I did that every day, I'd be like, don't you want to put a little flower on there? So I can see how. And I kind of do the same thing. If there's a set that I really want to do, I just put it out there. Does somebody want to do this? Because then I'll get to do it.
Yeah.
I forgot what the question was.
I'd meshed two together that we had written down. I said, when you look back at times you've been burnt out, what do you do now compared to before? Like, what's changed?
So I feel like I take that step back.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about control. Oh my gosh, I just remembered that you got your tattoo and I want to see it after we're done. So I feel like for me, it's about, I feel like I'm losing control when I burn out. And I used to just like spiral into this, like, there's nothing I can do and life is pointless.
Yeah, just panic.
Versus now, I think about the things that I can control, even if it's just like, okay, I'm going to go home and I'm going to take a shower. Or like, I'm going to go home and I am going to like pour my heart and soul into my marketing because I know that that is going to make me feel better because I think my whole thing is if I'm not productive, if I don't feel as productive as I want to feel. So, or as like efficient as I want to feel. So if I focus on things like, that's why I wrote my marketing book. Was at the time I didn't realize that the reason I was pouring all my energy into this thing was because it was something that like I could control doing. So I think that focusing on things like that kind of helps me.
Just taking the control back.
Yeah. And with that, I guess we will end this episode here. Till then, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.